Hi, this is Russell Stannard from teachertrainingvideos.com. I've got a video for you today about assessment. We're going to focus on three different things. So this is assessment online. I'm going to look first at working with Google Forms to do quizzes. Can be really good for, say, quizzes or tests around YouTube videos, for example, or even reading content. Then I'm going to move on to the work that I've done with getting my students to record themselves and then share those recordings with me, and that could be talking over a PowerPoint or talking over a picture or talking over a graph or perhaps having a discussion. And then I'm going to move on to perhaps the thing I'm most interested in at the moment. That's e-portfolios, and that's the way I actually assess on my online courses. Now, e-portfolios is quite a big subject, so I'm going to give you some links to some additional content if you want to carry on learning. I'm sorry this video is so long. People always nag me, Russell, can you make the video shorter? Assessment is a really big topic, but what I've done is hopefully by explaining that there are three different things I'm going to cover, you can jump to that particular area if that's what you're interested in. Hope the video is useful. Let's get started. Okay, this is a great formative way of testing your students. Let's say you want them to watch a video, or you want them to read something, or you want them to look at something, and then you want them to answer some questions. But when they answer those questions, it immediately gives them feedback and tells them if their answers are wrong or right. Now, one of the easiest ways of doing this is a bit limited. You can't do lots of different quiz types, but one of the easiest way is to use Google Forms because it's free. It works really nicely and it gives you lots of interesting data. Let me just give you a quick example. So if I click over here and go to my Google Drive, I click on my Google Drive, and let's start by actually looking at an example. So I'm going to click on this quick example here called Russell's video quiz. It's just a quick taster. I can see how many people have responded so far, and I can click and look at their responses. But what I've asked them to do is put in their name, then I've asked them to watch this video, then I've asked them to answer these questions, and the feedback goes to them immediately. So the only thing I need to do when I make this quiz is click on send, click on share, and then send that link to the students, and that way they can all do the quiz and I don't have to do any marking or anything. Everything is immediately sent to the students. So what I'm going to do is show you how to make one of these online quizzes using Google Forms, but also point out a few of the possibilities. The interesting thing is the fact that you get the responses, so you can click on the responses and you can see either the individual responses or a summary of whether the students got the answers wrong or right. And all of that is automatic. So this is what I'm going to show you as the first possible way of doing formative assessment. So let's come back onto the Google Forms. I'm just going to close those two down. Just come back here. To create a Google form, just go to your Google Drive, come up here, click on new, and then come down to more and click on Google Forms. And now you're ready to start producing your Google Forms. Now, the great thing about Google Forms is you can add lots of different content into Google Forms. I always start by giving it a title. So we're going to call this Assessment Idea 1, because we're going to look at sort of 3 or 4 different assessment ideas today. When you've written in a title, just click here and it will grab that title and use that as the name of the file. Now, this description box is really useful because if you're going to do a reading comprehension, you want the students to read something and then answer questions, this is the perfect place to put the text in. So just to give you an example, I'm going to quickly grab some text just to show you how it would work. I can copy the text in, come back to my Google Forms, paste in the text, and that could be the text at the top of the screen, and then I can start adding my questions. So we can easily use this idea for reading comprehension. Now, I'm not going to do reading comprehension. I'm going to just do where the students are going to watch a video. So I'm just going to put a quick description here. This is a video assessment. Okay, that's going to just simply be my quick description. Now I'm going to click below, and the first thing I want to do actually is put the video up. So at the top of the screen, best to have the video and then the questions underneath. So I'm going to click here, and in fact, if I click here, it's easier. Click here and then click on Add Video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a search, and I'm going to always use the same example simply because I can quickly make comprehension questions about it. I'm going to search for something called funny presentation. Hopefully it will come up. It's normally one of the top ones. There it is. Click on that. Click on select. So I've got that onto the screen. Now, one of the things that I will do here is give some instructions. Watch this video and answer the questions, below. Okay, now a couple of things. The video at the top, and you're going to add your questions underneath. Move your video into the center, so center align your video, looks much better. Click on the video and just pull it out so it's a bit bigger as well. Look, it's going to look a lot nicer. Make sure that you put these instructions. You cannot add a question along with the video. You put the questions underneath. Let's start to add the questions. Now, before we start, we need to go up to the top here, click on settings and go to quizzes and make sure that we say make this a quiz. And I like to release mark immediately after submission, and I like to leave all that the same. So just that one button that you need to do, and now you're going to make a quiz. Now the difference is when you're doing a quiz in Google is that you must tell Google what the correct answer is, and you need to provide the feedback as well. So I'm going to do my first question. Obviously I know this video very well. He makes lots of mistakes, and so the first question I'm going to ask is, what does he knock over? So asking a simple question like that. Now I'm going to give the options. I'm going to say he knocks over his pens, he knocks over his computer, and I'm going to say he knocks over his flip chart, because he's got a flip chart there as well. Okay, what does he knock over? In fact, yeah, that will do. So we'll put those three answers. The correct answer is the thing that he knocks over is his pens. And when I click on the answer key here, when I click here in the answer key, I need to say which is the correct answer. So the correct answer is pens. I need to decide what the score is. It's going to be 5. And I need to give the feedback. So add answer feedback. And I'm going to put, if the correct answer is, the correct answer is pens. Maybe I'm going to watch the video again. Okay, now I can even link to something if I want the students to perhaps link to something if they didn't get the answer right and I want to provide them with a link. I never do that myself. I need to now click on the correct answer. So correct answer, I'm just going to put well done. Okay, so that will do. I click on save. First question is now done. Now I'm gonna click on the done button because that's done, and I'm gonna want to add another question. Okay, so let's produce another question. So we click on add. We'll do one more multiple choice. I have got other choices and I will look at a couple of them in a minute, but let's do another multiple choice question. The second one, I'm going to say, what does he throw into the audience? And the answer to this question, again, I need to then come, once I've written the question in, to the options, and I'm going to put here that he throws into the audience a pen, he throws into the audience a computer, and he throws into the audience a book. Or book, that'll do. Should have put the article before really, but we're just doing this really quickly. So going to put 3 options. Notice when you're doing these questions, you could do images instead of text. I'm just doing this really quickly to show you. Okay, so once you've chosen your 3 options, and you can add more options if you want, I click on the answer key. I tell what is the correct answer. It's this. How many marks? 5. And then remember, you must give the feedback. Incorrect. I'm going to say no, he throws a pen. Okay, and then correct answer, I'm just going to write what well done. Okay, so I've done 2 questions. Remember, once you've created a question, click on the done button. Now let's try and do another one, and I'm just going to show you why some of the other question types can be a bit tricky. Let's choose this one here. So I've added plus, but we're going to change it from multiple choice to short answer. And I'm going to say, for example, what does he sing a song about? Okay, and now again I've got to put in the answer key here, and it's going to ask me to choose the correct answer. So add a correct answer, and I'm going to say, for example, he writes a song about lions, which is what he sings a song about. Okay, he sings the lion song. I could add another option. He sings a song about animals. Okay, not such a good answer, but it will do. Or I can say, what does he sing a song about? And then I'm going to put, for example, lion song. Okay, so you can see one of the problems. We kind of got to guess as many of the possible answers as possible, and this is always the problem. So best when it's really specific. Sometimes when this can work really well is if you do it like a gap fill. So the students have to just complete the sentence and then choose the right word. So it might be something like where you've got a sentence here and then they've got 3 options. That way it can work fairly well. I think when you're doing questions, it's not so good. So now I need to add the feedback. Okay, so all of these, mark all the answers, mark all other answers as incorrect. Okay, so only these 3 are acceptable. Click on add answer feedback and we're going to just say he sings a song about lions. Notice that in this particular case you don't get sort of wrong or right, but you just get that. Now let's just take one more example before we stop this. Remember to click on the done button. There are other options. Okay, I'm going to show you once more how to do a gap fill question, but I'm going to show you what some of the examples that I've seen teachers doing. So I'm just about to add a 4th question. So and again I'm choosing short answer, and this time look what I've done. I've done Russell Stannard is that, and then I've got a missing word here. Okay, and I'm going to choose the word that I want. So I'm going to come now to the answer key, and the word that I'm going to accept is founder. So often it works better when you do it as a gap fill sentence rather than when you do it as a question with one specific answer. I've just noticed that generally works a lot better. And then I'm going to say mark all other answers as incorrect, put the feedback in and say yes, he founded ttv.com in 2017. Click on save. Okay, we've done the quiz questions. We've done 4 questions. Obviously you could click and add more. Remember, when you click on the plus button you can always change the question. Notice you can also decide if a question is obligatory. So if you want to make a question obligatory, you click on here, and if you want to delete a question you can click here. Sometimes if you're making questions, sorry, I forgot to click on the done button on the last question. That's really important. Make sure you do that, otherwise the question isn't saved. So we've got 4 questions now. Okay, in total. So what we want to do now is share these questions with our students. Now all you need to do once you've finished is click on the send button, click here, and you can copy that link. Now if you actually press on this button, it will do a shorter version. Just copy that link and send it to your students, and then your students can click on that link and they can do the quiz. Now I'm actually going to log in now as a student so we can see exactly what would happen. So I'm going to copy that link and I'm going to log in now as a student. So I'm going to go into another account or another browser, click on the button, and the quiz will open onto the screen. There it is. I can click on the video, watch the video. Now I know this video very well, so I'm not going to watch it, but you can see that obviously you can go full screen if you want. And then I can start to answer the question. So what does he knock over? He knocks over the pens. What does he throw into the audience? He throws a pen into the audience. What does he sing about? And I'm going to say lions. Okay. And then the last one, Russell Stannard is the founder. Now let's put the finder and get it wrong. Okay. So we've put in our options there. We click on submit. It just double checks. Are we happy? We've submitted, and now it tells me whether or not I got the questions right. So I got the first one correct, the second one correct, the third one correct, and the 4th one wrong. Nothing fantastic, can be useful for summative feedback. As I said, we could have done it as a reading comprehension. This could be any video. It could have been a video about grammar. It could have been a video about history. It could have been a video about science. And you build the questions after. Now, this is one of the powerful things I'm going to show you now. What happens for the teacher? Now, if we go back to the teacher, we can see that someone's responded. And we can look at the questions individually, or we can look at the summary and see did they get the questions right or wrong. Okay, and it gives me that information. Or I can go to the individual now and look at their answers. Now, the only problem is that we didn't ask for anyone's name. So one thing I would always suggest, if we just go back to the questions, okay, and remember we can always edit our piece of work, is that I would have here added the first question onto the screen and just simply change that to short answer and just written the question, what is your full name? And that way you will know the name of the student. Now you could ask a second question, what is your email address? And it'd be a good idea to require that. That way, when you open up the responses and go to individuals, you will see the name and then all the answers, the name and then all the answers. Now, why is this summary useful? Well, because it can quickly tell you which questions the students are getting right and which questions the students are getting wrong. And it might help you, therefore, to decide what you need to teach or go back over again. So that is one of the ways that I do formative assessment. It's not perfect. Sometimes I use this, sometimes I use the quiz tool in Moodle, sometimes the quiz tool in Edmodo, depending on what I'm doing. But I do this, and I do find it's quite useful if I just want to check understanding. Just a quick promo to say, if you like the video, please remember to like it. Please share it with other students. Any comments, please leave them in the area below, and I'll do my best to get back to them. We're really working like mad to keep up with all of the comments at the moment. And come over to teachertrainingvideos.com. All the videos are free. There's a special section here of all different technologies that you can look at. And if you want to, you can sign up to my newsletter. That way you'll keep up with all the new blogs, the webinars, the online courses, and all the new videos that I put out. And the other thing that you can do, of course, is subscribe to the YouTube channel. I think we're up to around 25,000 subscribers now. Let's get back to the video. Okay, the next two things I'm going to talk about are really dear to my heart. These are things that I was really interested in right away, right from the start when I kind of got interested in using technology. And one of the things I wanted to do for my students was get them to record themselves doing presentations, talking over pictures, having discussions, recording themselves in interviews. I really wanted to encourage them to do more speaking work. And so I really focused on that. And I'm going to show you how I get my students to record themselves speaking. And then obviously I give them feedback on those recordings. I have to say that when I did this, it was a learning process. I made loads of mistakes, but I was very lucky. I was working at universities and I had the chance to experiment and test out ideas. It took a long time to get right. I'm going to show you how I did it, and then I'm going to talk about some of the problems and some of the things you need to think about. I'm going to show you a couple of examples as well. So what we're focusing on now is, can we get our students to record themselves doing a presentation, going over something, and using that as a way of assessing our students? So I was always trying to get my students to record themselves, and even really low levels. So let's just do an example here. Imagine that the students just had to do one slide, and then they can use technologies, and the one I'm going to show you is called Snagit, but I'll show you a couple of other ones that are completely free in a minute. I use this one. This one costs about I think it's $30 for an educational version. But you can get some free ones, and I'm just going to click on video. But look how powerful this is. Let's imagine that I was doing a Spanish class and my teacher said to me, right, I want you to record yourself talking about a few basic things about yourself, okay? Your name, where you live, your appearance, and your hobbies. So all I need to do is use Snagit, mark the screen area, then click on this button here. Bueno, me llamo Russell, vivo en Londres, o bueno, vivo cerca de Londres. Soy bastante alto y tengo el pelo negro. Y vamos, lo que me gusta hacer es tocar la guitarra, cantar, y me gusta hacer deportes también. Okay, so I'm just done a quick recording, click on stop. And that recording is ready, and I can even play it back straight away. Now I can then send that to my teacher, to my Spanish teacher, and the way I could do that is loads of things. I could click on share, and I could either put it into my Google Drive, so I could just share it straight onto my Google Drive and then send the link to the video to my teacher. I could put it onto YouTube. If I've connected my Snagit to my YouTube, I could do the same thing there. I could even put it into Dropbox, etc. I could just save the video on my computer. If it was a very short video, maybe I can just email it to the teacher or upload it into Edmodo, or however you organize it. But it is a possibility to get our students to record themselves speaking. If you click here, for example, you can click on Save As and just save that video onto your computer. and then share it with your teacher. So this is a possibility. Now I do this now in my terrible Polish, which I'm really struggling to learn. So I might put here recording, and then I could then send that to my teacher. That's really is a possibility, and I've done quite a lot of work around this idea. Now I'm going to just talk about it a little bit more. Now the great thing about these technologies is a lot of them are free. This one isn't free. I click on video and I click here and then I mark the area. Okay, now this particular technology has a lot of other options. Okay, I'm just keeping it really simple at the moment, but I'm just going to mark it. Then I just click on this button here. Now the other thing is that I can be recording for a few seconds. So blah, 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 blah. I can then click on the pause button. Then I could go to the next slide. So if you want the student, say, to do a presentation where they're talking over 4 or 5 slides, then they can do that. Blah, 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 blah. Then come to the next one and talk about that. So that could be a possibility as well. Now I'm going to show you a free technology that we can use for this. So this is Snagit, but a free one is called Screencast-O-Matic. It's a bit quirkier than working with Snagit. Snagit you download, but I have to say Screencast-O-Matic is a very feasible, very viable technology to use, and one that you can recommend to your students. Now another option is to look at something like Screencast-O-Matic. So click there. It's a free website. Click on Start Recording for free. So you don't even need to sign up, and then click on Launch Free Recorder. Now you have to wait a couple of moments for the recorder to open. Okay, we have to click here as well. This is coming down from the internet. It's like a plug-in. There it is. It's just about to come onto the screen. Good, right, there it is on the screen. Now what you need to do first of all is minimize the page, all right, because you don't want to be recording this. So minimize the page, but the recorder will still stay open. So let's imagine, for example, I want to talk over a picture. So I'm just going to quickly jump to my pictures, and I don't know, let's just have a look if I've got a quick image that I can use. So for example, we've got a picture on the screen now of Anne Boleyn. Now I could click on the record button. And again, I could be speaking in any language and practicing my language, or doing a presentation for history, or it could be for architecture or whatever. But whatever, whatever image you've got on the screen, it could be a picture of a building that you want to talk about, or a painting that you want the students to talk about. As I said, it could be absolutely anything. They just do the recording. When they want to pause, they can pause. Then they can go back again. So if you want to change the picture and talk about another picture, you could also do that. Okay, they could then turn on the recording again and then start talking about another picture. And when you finish, you just click on done. And that video, then you save and upload. And you've got very similar options. Now I can play it back. So this is another option, okay, and then again you can save the video onto your computer or upload it onto your YouTube channel. So again, it's another way of getting the students to record themselves speaking. So here's one of my early examples, working with a group of students and getting them to record themselves talking over a presentation.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to talking about security and privacy of electronic business. I'm Michelle. And if you have any question, please keep it until the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, I won't play any more. You can see it moves from page to page. She's going through the presentation. This was way too long. I should have given her advice on how many slides I wanted her to talk about. But it was a really interesting activity for me in terms of, getting an understanding of Michelle's level, how I could help her, and to evaluate what level she was at. And this is the reason why I really like this as an idea. Now, I know that a lot of teachers are not going to be keen on this idea, but I've seen plenty of teachers that have done it. A few ways that you can make your life a little bit easier. Get the students to work in pairs rather than individually. That way, straight away, you've only got half the recordings to listen to. Always limit the number of slides. 3-4 slides is enough, really. You get a very good idea of someone's level really just after 2 or 3 minutes of a recording, especially if you're doing language practice. Obviously, if it's something more formal, then you're probably going to want a little bit more, but limit it by slides or by time. Don't forget, you can use this in loads of different ways. Students could be talking over a picture, talking over a PowerPoint, talking over a document, talking over a graph, talking over a table, talking over some, anything at all that they can open up onto their screen. So that's really a good idea. Now, when students are doing this, if you think about it, there's the whole process of them making the PowerPoint slides. There's the whole process of them organizing and thinking what they're going to say and doing the research for it and maybe scripting it. And then there's the doing the recording. And what I actually do is that after the students have done this, I give them a self-evaluation form to go through. Okay, how did you develop your PowerPoint slides? Okay, let's look at the process. Did you take some notes? Did you rehearse? Did you have some key points to talk about? Did you play the video back and decide it wasn't very good and redo it again? So some questions about the process and then about the content. So you can actually get the students to self-evaluate, and I really like this idea. Now, from this work, I kind of started moving into ePortfolios, because what I'd started to do is to get the students to do a series of recordings and to save those recordings into a blog. And then they self-evaluate their recordings, and then they can choose one for formal evaluation from me. So that way I'm not marking all of the pieces of work, but rather they evaluate them. Obviously I pop into the blog to see that they're doing the work. I do check that they're actually doing it, but then I then say to them, right, you've done 4 recordings during the year. Which one do you want me to give you formal evaluation on? And that is a possibility. And that really links in nicely now to what we're going to talk about, which is ePortfolios. Right, straight from the start, sorry if I get a bit enthusiastic about this, but really it has worked so well for me. It took a while to get it right. And I'm going to take you through a little bit of information about ePortfolios, and then I'm going to give you some links if you want to learn more about them rather than carry this video on. I started the process by, in 2005, getting the students to keep a reflective blog. That is, they were students training to learn to use technology in their teaching. So they were kind of teachers or future teachers, teacher training courses. And each week after I taught them, I gave them a series of questions after the lectures and after the activities we've done, and I asked them every week to write their diary and to keep that up to date, reflecting on what they'd done in the lesson, what they'd learned, what they think could work, what things they might use, etc. So it started like a diary, and then I started to get them to put bits of the things that we were doing in the class into the diary. So if we did a Google slide together, or a Google form, or we put a video up on YouTube, or they had a discussion in Yahoo groups or something like that, I was getting them to copy or embed it into the blog. And from there I realized, well, hang on a minute, I could assess at the same time as I'm teaching, at the same time as we're doing teaching and learning. So for example, if my students are in the class and they're doing a group activity together, why don't they just take that and then put that into their ePortfolio, and then they can write about it. Well, what did they do? What did they learn from it? Blah, blah, blah. So, because an ePortfolio always has 2 parts. It has this content that you're adding up, and then it has a reflective diary. Now, this isn't going to be the way for everyone to go, but certainly if you're working at university, if you're certainly working at a high level, with older students, I would have thought, for example, say students of 13, 14, 15, this could be a possibility. Now, you don't have to be obsessed with it. It doesn't have to be the whole assessment. My students have to take one thing from the week and put it into their blog, or put it into their ePortfolio now, and then write about it. And I normally provide them with the guide questions to help them to reflect. So the questions are often going to be things like, what have you learnt? What do you think will be useful? How could you apply it to your own situation? You have to think very carefully about the questions that you can ask them. Now, I'm going to confess something. Every time I do this, the faces of the students or the teachers that I'm working with at the beginning is like, oh God, and at the end, they love it. And I get such good feedback, because they feel, number one, that the assessment's embedded into the teaching and learning. Number two, they have something tangible at the end, evidence of their learning over a period of time. Number three, they learn about technologies, so they learn to use Google Sites. I use Google Sites for making the ePortfolios, and they learn to embed things, and they learn how Google is all connected together, and that you can have a Google site and you can put your Google Forms and your Google Slides and your Google Docs and your YouTube videos all into one. And they learn things about how to make it look nice, and they learn also to build a website. So when they're making an ePortfolio, it's rather like building a website. So they're learning loads of skills at the same time. I wouldn't carry it on unless the feedback at the end of the courses was often tremendous. People saying to me, Russell, I'm really glad that you forced me to do this. So I really do suggest that it's something you look at. The only problem, and I have to admit, is it's a bit of a process. I'll give you a few tips. Put your students in pairs so that they've got a buddy who they're always looking at. Bring your portfolios into your lesson, so every so often when you're doing your e-portfolios, get the students to open them up and share each other's. Make sure occasionally you go onto the e-portfolio and leave a little note for the students so they know that you're kind of keeping an eye on what they're doing. Make sure that you don't isolate the e-portfolio from what you're doing in the lessons. So often, even in the lesson for the last 15 minutes of a class, when I'm doing a big training course, I'll get the students to actually go onto their e-portfolios and write them up, and then I'll walk around and see how they're getting on. So I've just grabbed this one example, and because this kind of sums up often what happens. Russell, sorry I was so negative about the e-portfolio at the start of the course. I now realise that I didn't know about them. Doing this flipped classroom course with you has been great, but the best part was the e-portfolio. I have learned about building a website, because that's what you have to do. You have to learn to use Google, or whatever tool you're going to use for your e-portfolio is going to be like a web building tool, or it's going to be a specific e-portfolio tool. So I've learned about building a website, embedding content, because that's what you do a lot. You embed all the things that you produce during the course. Design and layout, because you learn how to organize it and lay it all out, make extra pages. So as well as keeping an e-portfolio and reflecting on what you're doing, you're also learning about actually web production and technology and so many things, because that's the great thing about this as an assessment. It's not only the content, but lots of other skills that you pick up. Now I need to understand more about reflection, and that is really common. So teachers say, oh, I can't reflect. Remember, my courses are teacher training courses, and I just try to help them each time, give them a little bit more advice, and generally by the end of the course they're getting better and better at reflecting. At the beginning they start with a description, they just describe what they did but don't reflect on it. When you're reflecting on something, you're thinking about, well, if I did it another time I would do this, and what I've learned from today is this, and this is how I think I could apply what I've learned. So then you're starting to really think of what you might call higher order thinking. Here's e-portfolio of one of my favourite courses. One of the teachers is doing one of my courses, which is called Assessment in and Evaluation in the Flipped Classroom. And so she's got a little kind of introduction, and then she's embedded in her examples of, for example, Google Forms that she's produced. There's actually a couple of Google Forms, the Google Docs that she made, and these are collaborative ones working with other students, and then Google Slides, she's embedded that. Again, that was a collaborative one. So everything that she's created on the course, she's added in. It was like about 4 or 5 objects over the period of the course. And then if we come over to the reflections, each time, each unit, she's written a reflection. And the reflections kind of get better and better and more in depth as they go along. And as that kind of, in terms of the quality of the reflection. And I gave her the questions to think about, really, just to guide her a little bit with the reflection. And that really is an example of the sort of thing. So that would, you know, be a whole all-in-one kind of solution in a way. I've got evidence of all her learning over a period of time, over the period of the course, and the reflections on what she's thought about what she's learned. Now, if you want to learn more, come over to teachertrainingvideos.com and come to the section on Google and click on really two ones that I really like. First of all, this one here, which is about how you create a website using Google Sites, and that's really good because it's going to give you the technical skills, and that's going to give you more of an overview, as well as show you an example of me actually building an e-portfolio. So those 2 videos are going to be really helpful. Sorry that video was so long, but obviously a lot in there, and assessment's a big area. Please come to the website if you want to make use of all the free videos here. If you want to sign up to the newsletter, follow my blogs and my online courses and my webinars and my new videos, then please sign up to the newsletter. That's pretty popular. We got about 10,000 people on, or active people on the newsletter. And the other thing you can do is sign up to my new YouTube channel if you want to keep up with all the videos that I put up to YouTube. And thank you very much.